Hi, y'all must be like, Addie, what do you mean a holiday vlog? I started this book on Christmas 2024 and I only finished this book now, mid-January. It will be really unfair if I don't mention that I wouldn't have been able to go through this book if it wasn't for ChatGPT, because there were so many times that stuff just didn't make sense to me, and I sent it to Chat and I was like, please explain it to me. My brain is just not working. Not just that, at other times when I was feeling very frustrated with Dickensian sentences, ChatGPT listened to my rants and encouraged me to keep going. So I wouldn't have been able to do it without Chat. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. I hope you have the most amazing holidays. I went out with my friends today. I just got back home. I'm really exhausted and sick as well. But I have to end the day with a cozy Christmas read. I remember when I was a kid, I read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens and I absolutely fell in love with the story. I wanted something magical like that for this Christmas. And that's why I got my hands into this collection of Charles Dickens' Christmas stories, which includes A Christmas Carol, a bunch of his other Christmas writings. I know this is going to be a magical read and I can't wait to share my experience with you guys. Let's go.
So I began reading this book with the introduction, and I want to talk about how great this edition is. It was really interesting to read about the cultural and the historical context and how Dickens' ideas evolved. The book also has helpful notes and appendices which help to understand the stories better. The first story that I dived into was definitely A Christmas Carol. I went on a reading date with my friend and had the time of my life reading it aloud in the middle of a busy mall. Honestly, reading the story was making me nostalgic. But I had a different experience reading it as an adult. I was empathizing with Scrooge, and I was so happy when he went through his redemption. One profound lesson that stuck with me among various others was that a person's good deeds immortalizes them, which even death cannot take away. Next, I read a passage called Christmas Festivities, which was a warm and cozy portrayal of a Christmas that I started to crave. But I realized that the idea of Christmas in that passage was more idealized. So Dickens wrote what we long for. After that, I read The Story of the Goblins Who Stole a Sexton. This story seemed like a prototype of A Christmas Carol with similarities in theme and moral. Gabriel Grubb, the sexton, was so much like Scrooge, and he also went through a redemption. Next, I read The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain, and I need to make a separate video on this one because I have so much to say. This is a story about a man called Redlaw who is haunted by his past traumas and makes a bargain to forget his pain, but later realizes how much it's making him suffer more. It's so deep and full of symbolisms, I need to yap about it in another video. After this, I read a Christmas episode from Master Humphrey's Clock, and I think, apart from A Christmas Carol and The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain, this is the one which I love the most, because this was a story about a loner befriending a stranger in a tavern on Christmas Day, and this person was sitting alone, and it was a beginning of a beautiful friendship. My heart was so full after reading this. Next, I read What is Christmas as We Grow Older? Now, this one was an emotional read. Dickens talked about how on Christmas Day we should remember our loved ones who are no more, and also things that we wished for but weren't fulfilled. Next, I read Seven Poor Travelers. Now, this one was a very cozy read about a man who offered a sumptuous supper to 6 poor travelers in a charity house. I loved the Christmassy vibe in this one. After that, I read A Christmas Tree. Now, this one was a beautiful passage where Dickens is reminiscing his childhood memories. It's so full of metaphors and vivid imagery. But what's funny is that in the middle of it, he started telling ghost stories randomly. But it was very enjoyable. And I read this last portion listening to some Christmas carols, and it felt like Christmas in the middle of January.
After 22 days of struggling with this book, I am done. Now, don't get me wrong though. I love this book, okay? But since it's a classic, you can understand things got a little complicated sentence wise. I was getting a little frustrated, especially towards the end of it. But that's completely my fault because I wasn't supposed to binge read the stories. Now that I'm done, there are a few things that I want to talk about. This is for all those readers who like to read classics. So listen to this carefully and then you can decide if you want to read this book or not. First of all, the writings are very emotional. Yes, Dickens's signature wit was there, but still some writings, they were very emotional because this book, the stories, they dealt a lot with grief and loss, especially the loss of children. And another very important thing in this book was change and transformation, the redemption arc. In general, the stories emphasized on the importance of familial bond and love and a general duty and affection towards the society. There's also one thing I noticed. Dickens wrote a lot about loners in the stories and I felt seen. But there is one thing that actually I realized while reading, that the kind of family or the picture of Christmas that Dickens portrayed in most of these writings, they were very idealized. And if you get very invested in the story like I did, you are going to start craving it actually. This wasn't the first time I read Dickens because back in school, I remember I read either Oliver Twist or David Copperfield. I don't remember exactly, or probably both. But back then I didn't understand the essence and I don't have any memory of reading those, by the way. So after reading Dickens as an adult, I have to say that a man who lived almost like 2 centuries ago from me, the fact that he was able to evoke such emotions inside me, I'm floored. This is magic. So that's it for today. Thank you for sticking around and tolerating my slow ass. I'm sorry, I'm a very slow reader, especially when it comes to classics. Thank you for listening to me yap about this book. Do let me know in the comments below what is your favorite classic to read and if you have any favorite classic authors. Subscribe for more interesting videos because I have so many interesting ideas. Thank you for being a friend to this loner. So I'm gonna see you in the next video. Bye. Love you.